Good evening, waifus and husbandos, and welcome back to another episode of the Waifu Cast. I am your host this week. I'm Orifice. Not with us is Lunakage. He had other things to attend to IRL and wasn't available, unfortunately, so there's that. I'm joined today, though, by our other host, Ryusuke.
What's going on, people?
And as an actual guest, my lovely waifu, Storm.
Hi.
So, we're, obviously going to start with what have we been doing for the week and the news. So for me, honestly, it's been a really slow week. I'm kind of waiting for Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle to come out.
Okay. When did that come out?
Tuesday.
Tuesday, okay.
I'm pretty excited for that.
It's the 30th, right?
31st.
Okay, yeah. Gunvolt comes in that day.
No, I'm sorry. I think it's actually the 29th.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah, because Gunvolt's Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm excited for both of those. I've been playing Overwatch because Season 5 is about to end. It actually ends today.
R.I.P. Dive Meta.
Yeah, other than that, though, I've just been watching The Office.
Good
Kind of
shit.
just to pass the time because it's been like a little lull for me.
Yeah.
So,
Office is great.
So Storm, how about you? What have you been up to?
I'm a part of this. Okay. Pretty much the same thing with The Office.
Yeah, it's not
Watching
really
a lot of that.
It's not really fair to ask you since we do basically everything together.
Well, okay. We watched the Death Note movie,
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
that shit.
Jesus
which
Christ.
is another, disaster in and of itself.
A dumpster
But
fire.
Yeah,
it
we're
was
gonna talk
just
about
trash.
it. So, alright. So why the fuck
Just why?
is the only indication of Light's intelligence in the entirety of the movie that he does homework for other students at his high school? I'm saying
Smartest kid.
this dude is supposed to
Best
be
guy.
a genius. It's emphasized throughout the entirety of the anime. I've never read the manga, so my only reference
Yeah, I've never read it either, so... Yeah,
is
you're
the
not wrong.
anime. But throughout the entirety of it, they emphasize his level of intelligence. That's just flaw number one. Okay. His mother's dead, and that is his justification for wanting to go after justice or whatever have you. There's no mention of a god complex.
Which is the biggest thing for me because that was part of what made Light so interesting.
Yeah,
Was
because
that
Light was the bad guy.
well, and he started from like a good thought, like he just wanted to make things better, but he got this complex and
See,
went crazy over it. And
I would argue that Light was never really good because he becomes tainted so quickly. He crosses the line almost. Within the first 4 episodes, he's already crossed over the line. I'd say.
Definitely.
So at that point, it's like the anime never really tries to portray Light as a good character. He's a sociopath.
Yeah, he's the bad guy from the get-go.
Okay,
Definitely.
so another big complaint: fucking Mia. Or the Misa analog. Jesus. Okay, so Light is in an actual relationship with her and has actual feelings for her. That's problem number 1. She's not a tool. In fact, that's the opposite. The plot twist of the movie is that she's actually the villain.
Mia's the bad guy. Like
God, it's so
it doesn't.
The only
in the
thing that
eyes and just everything. The only. I don't know if this is where you were going. The only redeeming thing about it, period, to me, was the gore factor, because those deaths were intense, and I did find that interesting.
See, I was gonna say that it nailed minutia. Like I said, I didn't say this, but L's behavior, his the way he picks up a phone, the way he sits in a chair, the way he speaks, everything about that was well done. But it's like that can't carry your movie through.
Not at all.
That's not that in and of itself doesn't make a good movie.
Yeah, I only got 5 minutes into it, so I can't really speak too much on it, but in that first 5 minutes, I was highly turned off. Like I said, I was talking to you while I was watching the first 5 minutes, and, I asked you, I'm like, does he even fucking die? And he's like, bro, this shit doesn't even have an ending. I'm like, okay.
It doesn't.
We're done here.
No, it doesn't.
So, Ryusuke, what did you do this week?
Oh, shit. Okay, so I was off the whole week, so I just chilled out miscellaneous bullshit. Played a little bit of Splatoon. Played a little bit of Gravity Rush. Going through the side missions.
2 or 1?
2.
Okay.
Worked on that Gunpla. I still haven't fucking...
This motherfucker for 3 weeks. I got paid to make this Gundam model. but it's not fun when you get paid for it.
It's really not. I'll never do this again.
No, I mean, I've never done work on commission or anything like that, but adding a deadline and adding, like, pressure to something you enjoy is never going to be good.
Yeah, the dude's actually been pretty nice about it, though. I sent him, like, the progress pics, and he was pretty ecstatic, so...
Well, I mean, as long
good.
as that's going well. Anything else?
Fuck, oh, yeah. Watched, Ballroom Yokuso, as usual. Started a new anime that was airing this season called, what the fuck is that shit called? It's, the English name is Love and Lies.
Okay.
And that shit is actually pretty hype, because, I mean, I'm definitely, like, partial to, like, romance type shit and shoujos and and stuff like that. Yeah, so this one kind of takes, like, what fucking show is that? Fuck it, I didn't realize. It's like the concept is, like, the government is pairing people up. So, like, because the birth rate's so low. So people are like mandatory, like, paired up with someone at the age of 16. And so it starts with, like, the main character, this dude, being in love with this girl that he'd been in school for 5 years or whatever. And them, like, he finally, like, tells her. And then, like, he learns, like, she was always in love with him, too. But he told her, like, the night before his 16th birthday. And the next day, he gets paired up with who he's paired up with, and it's not her.
Oh, that's brutal.
I feel like I would really like that.
Yeah.
That sounds right up my alley.
Of course it does, because it's all lovey-dovey.
That's me.
Yeah, I've only watched one episode, but that one episode pulled me in, so.
All right.
But that's about it.
So in gaming news, oh, man. So, Square, they had an interesting week. Gamescom was this week, so that's, obviously worth touching upon.
Yeah.
Square, the one good thing they announced was the PC version of Final Fantasy 15. Yay for that.
Yeah, I'll be copping that, definitely.
That's going to be cool. They announced a pocket edition of the game, so they're like, it's a chibi version, a portable phone game that is like a condensed version of the Final Fantasy 15 story. And they heavily hinted at a Switch version of Final Fantasy 15, but it's probably going to be this bullshit-ass phone game.
Probably. And I would say that the actual story of Final Fantasy 15 is a condensed version of the Final Fantasy 15 story.
That's a topic for another time. Yeah, but they also announced a fucking Assassin's Creed crossover for Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, so basically Final Fantasy 15 is a Korean MMO now. And, like other MMOs, and mainly Korean MMOs, there are events, and now you get to be an assassin.
Cool.
And Lestalem, because reasons.
I don't care about that.
Neither do I.
And, to be honest, I think that Final Fantasy 15, the only way that game's going to ever get any, like, kind of pull or, like, any respect from me is when the Windows version comes out and I can play it, like, as close to a completed version of the game as they're ever going to get. But, I'm wishful thinking.
The way it's all presented, it'll never feel complete, if that makes any sense. It'll run better, maybe. Maybe they'll touch on the bugs and
It'll
shit.
be prettier.
Yeah, but as far as, like, the story and, like, the story DLC and the way it's going to be implemented, it's just you go to it from the main menu. It's not going to be interjected into the actual story.
That's cool.
But, I don't know. It's too late for that game. But, like I said, that's a topic for another day.
Okay, so you're probably wondering what's the topic for today, if you didn't tell from the title.
Wait, we didn't talk about Xbox One X, dog?
Because we're not going to. So the topic for the week... So for real, the topic of the week, we're going to talk about all of us are going to do our top 3 favorite anime series. We wanted to do something a little bit different from what we normally do, I guess. We talk about waifus, we talk about video games and whatnot. And we've talked about anime, but I feel like we might get a little bit more in-depth.
Yeah, we've never done, like, something, like, really, like, super in-depth about anime. It's always been, like, an add-on.
So, I don't know, who wants to start?
Let's let her, I guess, start.
Oh, come on.
Alright, so, Storm, what's your first anime you want to talk about?
Are we ranking them in order?
I mean,
it doesn't have to be in a specific order,
especially
but...
since we're saving, like, our all shared one for the last one, so yeah.
Okay. So probably the first one would have to be Akame Got Killed.
Okay.
Okay.
So tell me about this.
Isn't it like about like assassins or some shit like that? I've never watched it.
Okay, it starts with this boy Tatsumi who is in his village that's really poor, and he wants to go to the capital and be in the army and make a lot of money for his hometown.
Okay.
And he ends up getting mixed in with a band of assassins his first night there, while he's about to be murdered by the people who are supposedly saving him. The assassins step in and they recruit him to work with them, and then it's all about the assassins taking back the city and defeating the emperor, who's ruled by the prime minister.
And it's all corrupt and whatnot.
It's just about the total corruption of the government and all of the bonds that they build. There's a lot of character building and a lot of really good relationships, and it just really spoke to me.
I have a bias against this show because naturally, this is my waifu, so we watched or tried to watch this together, and it really like has a strong hook in the first episode. It gets really dark and it grabs you, but then the tone isn't consistent, and I lost interest in it.
It goes back there for sure as they get further into the corruption and there's more fighting and more characters are leaving and being introduced, and it definitely gets darker than where we left off. But
What kind of like time period is it taking place in though? Like modern.
It's like a hodgepodge, I'd say, because it's like it is definitely like medieval.
Like, is it like some Seven Samurai type shit where it's medieval high tech?
It's kind of like Full Metal Alchemist to me, in the sense that it's a different time and kind of just a different world to begin with. They have these weapons that they bond to like one specific person, and like they have to use them. They're called Imperial Arms.
Okay.
And they're like boosted weapons, and there's only like 40 something of them in the entire world.
There's magic involved. And
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's kind of like an alternate universe, kind of like different time periods.
It's definitely a
meshed together.
fantasy setting. It's not like alternate history or anything like
Right.
that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
But no, it's really good. And the first time I watched it, I was pregnant, and my emotions were all over the place, and it's a very emotional anime for being as actiony as it is, and that probably struck a chord with me and makes me love it a little bit.
From what
more.
I understand, too, it's one of the few anime out there that's got popular that has, like, a serious twist to it.
Okay.
So, like, the plot dramatically shifts at a point.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't want to spoil it here, because I think that me and the viewers should go and actually watch it through.
Yeah, me too. I haven't watched it yet. So.
But no, it's definitely worth a watch, and the music is amazing.
Okay.
That's always a bonus for me.
That's what's up.
Yep. All right. I'll go next. My first one I'm gonna talk about is Monster. It's a psychological thriller mystery. It's set in Germany in, I believe, the 80s and then maybe early 90s.
Okay.
Because it spans a good deal of time. But one of the things that immediately attracted me to it once I started watching it was that it is completely set in the real world. There's no fantasy elements to it whatsoever. Everything is grounded in realism. Everything's historically accurate. It deals with a Germany recovering from the Nazi regime, and it deals with the wounded remnants of the Nazi regime attempting to maintain their power, or regain it rather. But at the same, it's really the way the story evolves over time, the way that the story is one continuous thing, and it's very much like another anime that we're all going to talk about, in the sense that it felt like it was conceived as a whole,
Okay.
as opposed to something that just
being written as it went.
And I really don't want to spoil it, so I can't really go too in depth on the characters and stuff like that. But the main premise, and you find this out really early, the main character is a surgeon. He's an excellent surgeon. And he saves a young boy who was shot in the head. He saves his life.
Oh, shit.
And that boy ends up being a murderer. And ends up framing that doctor for a bunch of murders, like, years later.
Oh, shit.
And like it's just a big cat and mouse game between them over time, and it gets so much more complicated and involved, dude. It's absolutely fucking insane.
When you think of like something like taking place in Germany, it's always like around like the time of like World War II or some shit like that. So to see like something take place in Germany like in the 80s and 90s would be kind of cool.
Well, and it's like it's cool in the sense that it's like dealing with like the kind of the
aftermath.
The aftermath and the collateral damage and all of the like I said, the remnants of that Nazi regime trying to maintain their power grip, and it's almost like what's left of the Nazis are like organized crime almost, as opposed to like a former like government.
I see.
It's so well done. There are so many great characters. It's one of the few animes where a character death like fucking wrecked me emotionally, made me like weep. It was so bad because he was such a good character. But
I remember that.
No spoilers.
Okay.
So yours?
Okay. First on my list is GTO, Great Teacher Onizuka. It was came out in like the I want to say late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay.
And basically what it's about a ex-delinquent named Mikichi Onizuka who's just getting out of college and he goes to become a teacher. So it starts off with him like getting a teaching job at like this high school, and he's like a huge pervert. So like he's like thinking he's gonna like be hooking up with all like the high school girls.
I started watching that.
Yeah,
I started it and I never
so
finished it. I really
good.
liked it. I don't know why I stopped.
It's so good. So he ends up like getting involved with this girl who basically gets like put up by these dudes to like fuck with them. Like what they do is literally they try to fuck with like each new teacher that comes in and set him up.
Okay.
So she tries to set him up, but he actually ends up like fixing her home life. Like you realize she's troubled because like her parents are like separated and like it's just a bad home environment, and he literally like just in his own unorthodox way ends up like bringing her family back together. But then he ends up leaving that school and going to a middle school. So at this point, you know, it's more so about he's doing that same thing, but you know, there's the perv element's gone, obviously. But like he's literally like the class he's in is like a class known to like chase out every single fucking homeroom teacher they've ever had. They're just a class of assholes. They just hate adults. Mm-hmm. But he literally just each person in the class gets like their own arc, and he one by one like fixes their lives. And like it's just crazy because like throughout the whole thing he's like always like in danger of losing his fucking job or something like that, or he'll always like do something crazy like bring like his old like thug friends into like the mix to like try to fix something, because like he used to be like they make it seem like he was like in a gang, but if you read the prequel he wasn't.
Okay.
He's famous for taking out a notorious gang alone.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So even though like this is my favorite anime, like if the manga for it, like the prequel is one of the best fucking things I've ever read. And but yeah, he's helping these kids one by one, and it's just really good. It's funny as fuck, but it has a lot of really good serious moments, and just the lengths that he goes to like help his class is crazy.
Okay. Storm?
My next one, it would probably have to be definitely Clannad and Clannad After Story.
Ooh.
More so After Story if I had to choose one.
Ooh, lad.
I have put myself through the torture of watching it 4 times, I think, and starting Tuesday will be number 4.
5.
5, number 5.
Yeah,
and
that's going to be my first time watching it.
He's not ready.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to it either.
I've watched both of them, and yeah, I don't know how Storm was able to watch that more than once. Because I couldn't. I definitely couldn't. I could go back and watch original Clannad again, for shits and giggles, but not After Story. I'm good on that.
And when I first tried to watch it, I got like 5 episodes in, and I was like, fuck this. This is super boring.
Wait, to After Story?
No. Into the original Clannad.
Okay. That's understandable.
And I was like, this is super boring. I wasn't interested in it at all. I clicked off of it. I was like, it's not worth watching that to get to something sad, because that's how I heard of Clannad. I was Googling sad anime, because I'm pathetic.
Okay, tell me how you really feel.
More so romance sad animes, because I'm a feelsy person, but didn't get into it, and I put it on the back burner for like 6 months, and now it's taken over my life, and I love it more than anything.
Yeah, like when I watched it for the first time, I knew nothing about anything.
Neither did I.
I went in blind. Like, I didn't even know this was supposed to be like some sad shit.
Oh, okay. See, that's all I knew, is that it was sad.
Yeah, I had no clue. So, like, when I'm watching the first one, I thought it was good, and I didn't know until like afterwards that it was actually like a visual novel, which is why like there was always at the end of the first one and like after story there'd always be like some alternate universe shit, and I didn't quite understand why.
Yeah.
Where he'd end up with a different girl. So I remember watching the first one; it was good, and then like the only part that really got me was with the stuff with Fuka.
Fuchan?
Yeah.
Fuchan?
Fuchan, my bad.
See,
But
that's what hooked me, but what really got to me was Kotomi's arc with her teddy bear. Yeah, that just... Kotomi's arc got me, and that's when I was like, nope, I'm never giving up. I said, no, I'm never giving up on this, and I watched the after story, and it ruined my life, and now, like, anytime I hear... any of the music from that anime, any of the openings or from the original soundtrack, any of it like hurts me.
Anytime I see some fucking sunflowers.
And there's a patch of sunflowers at the end of our road that someone's growing, and every time I turn onto our street, I cry a little bit. It's
yeah, I just remember watching it, liking it, and then watching After Story and getting to episode 14 and just being like, nigga, there's clearly 10 episodes left.
Where are you going
I'm like,
with
nah,
this?
dog.
Well, that's what confused me. It was just, oh my god. All of it. Everything.
Watch Clannad and Clannad After Story. It's so good.
Everything,
Well,
just
I
make it to
understand
episode
about it-
6 and you're golden.
I'm just like, did they make this shit to hurt you? It's like, is that what it was designed to do?
Pretty much.
But yeah, I mean, it's a life ruiner. I've never met someone who's watched Clannad who hasn't been touched by it.
Yeah.
Like, the story, the characters, the relationships they build, and just how the creators of that force you to feel what the characters are
It's crazy
feeling.
because when you watch it, that's the last thing on your mind. It's the last thing on your mind. And you like, oh, them niggas ain't gonna go there. And then you be like, them niggas really ain't gonna go there.
Dog! Are they gonna go there?
I'm like, I didn't understand. I'm like, why are they doing this? Like, this shit was about, like, fucking, like,
happiness and love.
dongos and shit. And then all this
Dongo!
and then, like, this shit pops off. I'm like, it wasn't like this. Nothing led to this at all.
It didn't have to be like
The most that happened was, like, Tomoya had, like, a shitty relationship with his dad. And that was the worst it got.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
It got
real. Watch Clannad.
Just do it.
Just have some tissues and shit on standby.
I'm not ready for it.
It's an ugly cry. It's an ugly cry.
Yeah, I definitely cried.
I watched it 4 times already and still ugly cry.
Yeah, it's...
Whew. Well, fuck that. Alright, you? Were you saying?
No, it's your turn.
Oh, it's my turn?
Yeah, your turn.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah, okay. Alright, so I've been really, like, struggling over this pick because, you know, Monster and our mutual pick were obvious for me with this. I like a lot of stuff, like, mostly the same. But I'm going to go with Gurren Lagann.
Okay.
Partially because what hasn't been said about Gurren Lagann, really? Like, it's older now.
I haven't watched it, though.
You've never seen it?
I haven't either.
I haven't watched it.
Okay. Well, just to forewarn you, I'm going to spoil a part of it. I'm sorry.
Okay, go for it.
But Gurren Lagann presents itself to you at its beginning as, like, you're introduced to essentially your 2 main characters, Kamina and Simone. And you're really, really, really strongly led to believe that Kamina is going to be who this ends up being about, but they kill him.
Shit.
Like, legitimately kill him in, like, episode, like, 9 or something like that, really early on.
Okay.
And his character was, like, he was always, like, pushing Simone, like, to go further and to do better and all this stuff, and then, like, when he dies, like, Simone has to, like, find that for himself.
Yeah.
And watching Simone grow after Kamina's death is just so great. And don't get me wrong, Gurren Lagann is literally the most ridiculous anime that I've ever seen in my whole life. There's no end to how ridiculous it gets. But the themes and, like, the character growth and whatnot, like, to be honest with you, man, Simone just has it really rough.
Yeah.
Loses his best friend, and then some really other sad shit happens to him. And you're just like, in the end, you're, like, really happy for them. And then you're like, really? You're going to take it away from him like that? But it's really good, and I
Okay.
loved it. It's the only mecha anime that I've ever, like, really, really enjoyed.
Okay.
So that's another big thing. I love the concept.
I didn't even know it was a mecha anime.
Well, it's all about giant robots.
Okay.
Incomprehensibly giant. Like, these motherfucking robots in the last fight in the anime are throwing galaxies at each other. Because they're so
That's
big.
just ignorant.
Dog, I'm saying to you...
I said it was ridiculous.
And I told you there's no
You said
end.
ridiculous, not ignorant. It's ignorant.
It's so awesome that you can't understand it. They're, like... I mean, the logistics of it, at that size, like... Because they're fighting, like, normal... Like a normal fight, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just, like, surrounded by galaxies and shit and throwing them at each other and whatnot. But just for them to move, they'd have to break, like, all the laws of physics. Because they'd have to be moving faster than the speed of light. And I'm just, like, I'm sitting here thinking about this shit. And...
I'm sorry, I can't hold it.
Sometimes you gotta itch your ass.
Hey, no, I never changed it. Never changed, bro.
Your laugh is wonderful. It literally brightens my day. But yeah, Gurren Lagann, that's my number 2 pick.
That's what's
It's
up,
great.
man.
So, with that being said, wait, is this now is it you?
Yeah, now it's me.
Oh, now it's you.
Let me get my shit together. Alright, so, second on my list is, anime I've watched way too many fucking times at this point. And, that's Nana.
Saw that coming.
Nah. Hey.
And, Nana is, I want to call it, a shoujo, but it's not. It's more
What's
so...
a shoujo?
Like, something, it's made for girls, basically. Shut up. I like shoujos, alright?
I didn't say anything.
But, like, you know, shoujo would be like, what's a good example off the top of my head? Like,
Nana?
No, it's not. It's a josei. It's too hardcore to be a shoujo.
Hardcore in what way?
It's too adult.
Oh.
It's more of a josei.
Okay. Cool. Tell me about it.
So it's about 2 girls
Mm-hmm.
who are both named Nana.
Okay.
One,
Hence the name.
Yeah. One is a like a punk rock chick from like a mountain town who's an orphan.
Okay.
And she is going to Tokyo to pursue her career in music.
Okay.
The other Nana is also from like a far off like rural town, and it's just kind of like a spoiled daddy's girl, middle child too, but like is just super spoiled, really ditzy, has no direction in life, and she's literally just going to Tokyo to be with her at the time boyfriend.
Okay. Sounds terrible.
Okay, so they meet on the train, and
Does he give her the brain?
huh? I mean, like, yeah, she bangs him like when she gets there, but like
I was making a rhyme,
Oh,
Dylan.
okay.
They meet on the train. She
Yeah.
gave her the brain.
So the 2 Nanas meet on the train because, like,
Oh, they're 2 chicks.
yeah,
Oh.
they end up sitting right next to each other, and then the train gets stuck. So like they pass the time by talking to each other and everything.
Okay.
And so they both get there, and then they each kind of have like their own arcs before like it starts to come together.
Okay.
Because they ultimately end up living together in an apartment that's 707, which is ironic because Nana means 7. So
Okay.
7 and 7. So basically, spoiled Nana gets there, and her boyfriend ends up cheating on her, so she leaves.
The rat bastard.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he is a rat bastard for it, but I can't blame him.
That's filthy, my
I
dudes.
know. Like, she's such an insufferable person near the beginning of the fucking, like, thing. That, like, near the beginning of the show that I kind of can't... I understand why he did it, but it's still shitty.
Have you even heard of this, babe?
I've heard of it, but I know nothing about it. I'm just listening.
Yeah,
Okay.
so, like, the other Nana gets there, gets an apartment right away. So, basically, when she gets kicked out, they end up, like, applying for the same apartment. And she
Okay.
leaves her boyfriend. And, so, wait, fuck. No, she gets in the apartment with Nana before the breakup.
Oh.
But they break up afterwards. So, yeah, they end up living together, and basically, she ends up getting, like, introduced to the other Nana's, like, group of friends, like, from her band and shit. And then it's just a bunch of, like, messy-ass, like, love triangles and hexagons and bullshit and unhealthy relationships. And, yeah, and it doesn't end. There's no ending. So if you don't like...
I think that's part of the reason I haven't checked it out.
If you don't like having a huge hole in your heart, don't watch Nana. Because no matter how many times you watch it, you'll never get closure. And I'm on my 5th time.
Well, that's
And I'm still dead inside.
you've told me about
And
it.
if you're like, hey, fuck you, I'm just going to read the manga. Okay, nigga, you do that, because that's not done either. That shit's been on hiatus for 10 years, so good luck.
Oh, boy. I hate that. I'm a Game of Thrones fan.
Yeah.
And we don't get to talk about this very often on this podcast
Go for
because
it.
no, I'm the only one that likes it. And I'm going to take this aside because it's one of my favorite things and it's relevant to what you're talking about here. Now, I became a fan with the first season when it came out. I wasn't a big reader back then, to be honest. And, well, I read, but I wasn't willing to read those books. So I watched the show for a while, but as I started to learn more and started to get more curious as the show got more interesting, I decided it would probably be worth it to read the books because I was constantly on the Wikipedia for the books, getting information. So I was like, fuck it, I'll read them. It took me a long time, but I finally did read them. And then using audiobooks, I read them a second time. And that one was much more productive, much quicker, and I remembered a lot more.
I'm the same in that regard. I like audiobooks.
It's such a good story, but the show is now one season away from completing the story.
Okay.
And the books are where the books were. The last book came out the year the first season of the show came out. And it's been that long since a book's been released. And we have no release date.
Oh, so the book's not even done.
There's 2 more books.
Oh,
and the
shit.
show's about to finish in its next season. So we still have 2 more books left.
So they're going to like Gecko end it?
They're going to do their own thing, yeah.
Oh, shit.
In the books, well, you gotta understand that the books are like a monumental amount different than the show at this point.
Okay.
Like, the first 3 books and the first 4 seasons of the show line up pretty good. There's a lot of differences, don't get me wrong, but for the most part, the overall plot is the same.
Okay.
After that, they diverge completely. Like, the 4th and 5th book, there's parts of it that have made it into the show.
Yeah.
But by and large, it's all different. Like, entire character arcs are changed or omitted. And it's fine. The show's still good. But it's like, I want to see the books end. And the dude's still alive. He's talking every so often. He makes a comment on how he's still working on it. But I'm just like, at this point, with how many fans that show's got, how many books he's sold since that show became a thing, all of that, those kinds of things considered, he owes it to us to finish that book series, I feel like.
Yeah, he definitely should.
And it's like, I'm willing to see the show end first, because I know the books are going to be so different.
Yeah.
But I better get the book ending, too. That's where I'm at with it. It's like, I I don't mind waiting for it, but I want it to happen.
I feel you.
Especially when you keep promising that it will.
Yeah. Yeah, at some point, like, I hate to be like those people that like, says, like, artists are, like, beholden to, like, their fans, but I think in a situation like that, where people put all this fucking money and shit into, yeah, you do owe them an ending.
I don't think he's beholden to us in the sense that he has to write his story a particular way or whatever.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, if as a writer for him to figure out how he's gonna, like, close off all these storylines and whatnot, if that's difficult, I understand it. But you've got to do something to indicate to the fan base more than saying you're working on it over and over again that you are. Like, we need something. We need some kind of show of
becoming
faith.
like the Kingdom Hearts 3 of fucking
Well,
books.
right.
Now.
It's just like the boy who cried wolf, in a sense. It's like every time you tell me you're working on it, I think you're working on it even less. And it's like, it's not only that, but it's like you can find time for all these other projects, all these other editing things you're going to do and whatnot. And it's like, I get it. You enjoy that. Do your work, but you owe it to the fans.
Definitely.
Now, to get back to the topic at hand.
Actually, that's actually a really good segue, though. Like, low-key, even though it was off-topic as fuck, it's a good segue. Because now we can talk about another anime and book that didn't coincide at all.
Well, yeah, I mean, are you talking about the original versus the manga?
Yeah, I mean, just Fullmetal Alchemist in general.
Well, Brotherhood's, like, pretty much exactly.
Yeah, Brotherhood is exactly, but I'm just saying, like, you know, I figure we could just talk about, like, FMA in general.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. We all are sharing our last one because it's all the same for us, but it's Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Yeah.
It's fucking incredible.
For sure.
It's literally... I can't put any other anime I've ever watched, like, on its level. Like, I've just never been more gripped by fucking anything.
Talking about it and Game of Thrones in the same podcast is really great for me because there's so many parallels that I draw. Like, I like them both so much for the same kinds of things. Like, for one thing, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood is by far the most fully developed world I've ever seen in an anime.
Oh, yeah.
The efforts that they put into building the world that it's set in, the attention to detail that they use as far as, like, when they reuse a setting, it is in the same, especially, like, there's one particular instance I'm thinking of, but they will reuse a setting that had a fight in it, and it will be in the same shape that it was when that fight happened, down to the details.
Yeah.
And, like, that kind of stuff. The characters. There are a lot of characters in that show, but they're slowly introduced.
Yeah,
and they're all developed to some degree.
Yeah, that was one of the... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go on.
That was one of the things I really enjoyed coming off of the original FMA, was the FMA had, like, all the same characters, but no development, whereas, like, you really gave a shit about, like, all the... Like, especially, like, Mustang's crew. Mm-hmm. Like, they got, like, next to no development, outside of maybe a little bit with Riza. But, like, fucking Havoc and all of them got nothing. And then, like, when that nigga Havoc lost his legs, I'm like, shit.
Yeah, no, for real. It was super fucking shocking. And, like, I'm talking about, like, even the homunculus from fucking Kimbley's crew that end up fighting with Al against Pride. Mm-hmm. And, like, just that. Like, it was awesome. Because, like, those characters were introduced fairly late.
Yeah.
And they still got their moments to shine. And it's like, another thing that I liked about that show too, and which is kind of in contrast to Game of Thrones, is that there's not a lot of characters that die in it. But the ones that do die, they die well. Like, they die, like, in a way that's not just shocking because they died.
Yeah.
Like, they died doing something valuable and important.
Yeah, like, especially with, in particular, the way they handled Nina. Now, Nina and Shao definitely had only, like, a very brief moment in, like, the story as a whole, but Nina's death had such a fucking impact.
It changed everything for Al, or for Edward particularly, but both of them, I guess, is what it is.
Yeah, it like changed like their whole outlook like on the world.
Well, because shortly after that too is when they find out that we're gonna go full spoilers for this, by the way.
Yeah, I mean it's been forever.
And when they find out shortly after that the Philosopher's Stone requires human lives to make, it's like they are introduced from a young age to the darkest side of alchemy. They know the darkest things that it's capable of.
Yeah.
And when they find out that everything that they are trying to do with saving their mother and all the things that put them in the position that they're in and on the path they're on require the sacrifice of human people to even be possible.
Yep.
On top of watching them see Nina's father do what he did.
To both her mother and her.
Just use alchemy to sacrifice a person for personal gain.
Yeah.
And it's like you see that on a grander scale. That's like pretty much like the crux of the story is an increasingly larger and darker uses of alchemy. Like Kimberly and all them bait Drachma into attacking the northern wall and fucking getting slaughtered to create the blood seal or whatever that father needs. And it's just, it's so brutal. They bait an entire nation's army to come get slaughtered.
Yeah.
Tell them that the defenses are weak and that they can easily get through, and they get, just like I said, slaughtered. That was why Ishval happened. Like, it's just...
Yeah,
it's
everybody's just getting used for something.
That show handles such darkness with, like, just deft hands. It's very well thought out. Storm, give us your thoughts.
Well, I mean, I love Full Metal Alchemist just for different reasons as well. It's a huge nostalgia thing for me because it was like the first anime I ever watched, and the Nina thing specifically was the first thing I ever saw from Full Metal Alchemist.
Oh, wow.
And I was a child.
Oh, shit.
And I just have like the memory of Scar walking up to Nina and putting his hand on her head and then the blood splatter, and that stuck with me. And then when I watched Brotherhood, it was even better than I remembered the original being, and it had been so long between them that I was able to just take Brotherhood for what it was and not compare it to the original. And Brotherhood is just amazing.
Well, I like the journey that Edward takes in that show because, like, he grows so much as a character.
He does.
From start to finish, and it shows because he like gains Truth's respect in the end because he figures it out essentially.
Yeah.
And like I love the way that all played out.
It's just like, I don't know, for me what really like pulled me into FMA, both of them honestly, it's just the amount of like shady shit and betrayal that went down, dog.
Yeah.
For sure.
And it seemed like once you got like near the middle and end, everything you fucking knew always turned to be like a lie or some shit.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And like that type of shit right there, and it wasn't even like for cheap thrills. It was like all shit that mattered, and just all shit that like you didn't even see coming. And I love that. Like that's what really like kept me going with that.
It had twists, but none of them were like for the sake of shock value.
Yeah.
They were like, when you go back and watch it,
Yeah.
the seeds were planted for them.
Oh shit! I didn't know this. Oh my bad. I didn't
Well,
know
it's
this.
like you were saying, the story it's complete. It's like it was done all at once and not written as
It was definitely
going.
thought
it
of
was
ahead of time.
completely planned.
Well, I like that there's a history, like the history of Xerxes. Like you get to see that,
Yeah.
and like, man, can we just talk about how like the anime was just so fucking beautiful?
It was
Like
really nice.
when they go to Xerxes, the ruins of Xerxes, that's one of my favorite episodes. The desert, just that whole vibe, like the way that they use colors in that show, the way that they do everything.
Yeah.
It literally is just so fucking well thought out, and you feel for these people and their struggles, and there's so many different games being played, so many different. Like, I mean, granted, towards the end, everybody has the same main goal, but even then, in the end, after the father's down and everything is resolved, there's still, like, everybody still has their own personal journey to continue.
Yeah.
The romance in the anime, the main one, Edward and Winry, is one of the best in anime, because it's not shoved down your throat. You don't think so?
I think it's good. I can't go and say like it's one of the best in anime.
Why wouldn't you say so?
Like it is, like it's there, and the way they handle it is good because it doesn't overshadow everything else. But when you talk about like romance and animes, I don't know. I can't.
It's
call
not
it the best.
particularly
Yeah.
romantic.
Let me tell you how I think about it, okay?
Okay.
So it's like, Edward, by the time that he's learned that the Sorcerer's Stone, Jesus Christ, Harry Potter, by the time he learns the Philosopher's Stone requires human lives to be made, he's pretty much like on a one-track mind quest. Like, he's going to do what he's going to do, and that's what's important. He needs to stop this from happening.
Yeah.
And throughout the entire anime, he's pretty much that. Like, his goals change because the status quo changes halfway through.
Mm-hmm.
But by and large, that's like his character. He's like driven to stop Father. Throughout the anime, he can't help how he feels about Winry and that he cares about Winry, and he has to go out of his way to protect her a lot of the time. And the anime emphasizes the importance of his mission over the romance between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
And that even though it emphasizes that his love for Winry was also like probably a key component in why he was so successful and driven. Like, he had things to save. Like, once he realized like what was going to happen, you know what I mean? Like, he
I
had
understand.
I felt like it was important and it was not in the forefront. And that
I think it was important, but I don't know, just that label, like best romance.
I said one of.
Okay, yeah, like I mean, even one of. I feel like the story and the way it's set up, you can't cultivate a one of the best romances in that type of story.
I think how they went about the romance.
It's one of my favorites. Then.
Well, I think how they went about the romance was perfect for Full Metal Alchemist, and it was the perfect way to incorporate
Definitely
romance
way
in
better
their
than
period.
the fucking first FMA.
Well, if they were to try to force feed it down your throat, it would have just ruined that anime.
Yeah.
But because they presented it in the way they did, it's not particularly romantic, but it is perfect for Brotherhood.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well.
But fuck. Oh, can we talk about the fights though too?
Oh yeah. Well.
Holy shit.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, this has got some notable fights. My personal favorites got to go down to. I mean, obviously the final fight between Edward and Father. I mean, that shit is lit.
Yeah, that shit just goes without saying.
Well, I don't even want to talk too much about it because it's like one of those things is better off just to see it.
Yeah, he gets his arm back and goes ham, and it's the best fucking thing.
It's so good. The fight between Mustang and, well, not even the fight. Just when Mustang not even crucifies, he just completely destroys Lust.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel some type of way about that scene in general, though.
You don't like it?
I have a love-hate relationship with Mustang's voice actor because he's married to the love of my life, which is Lust's voice actor.
Oh, fuck out of here, man. I'll tell you something.
I don't want to see your chemistry on fucking screen, all right? Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what.
Take that PDA
Mustang
shit
was
elsewhere.
there was nobody that was ever harder than Mustang in that scene, dude.
It's just
motherfucker gets stabbed, fucking gets all wet and shit, so he doesn't have any way to. His glove is wet, so he can't use his igniter glove. Yeah. Or no, she still does. She burn it up? Something. He can't use his igniter.
He can't. I think she rips it. She rips it. And so, like, he has to fucking
carve
one into his fucking hand with some debris.
And use his fucking Havoc's lighter.
Yeah, use Havoc's lighter. He seared the wound shut.
Dog.
Burn that shit shut. And then just takes the lighter and goes ham.
He fucks her up. And in that, I think, is that the scene where he really talks about how his power works and how it's not that he controls the fire, but he can control the air? Mm-hmm. So that, like...
Yeah,
that's so. I love that about the alchemy. Like, they go pretty, like, when they choose to go in depth about people's particular alchemies, they go really in depth. And I like the contrast of, like, alchemy, like how different. What's her name? Mai, the little girl.
Yeah, I think it is.
Is it May?
I think it's May. It's May. I think it's May.
Yeah, how she fights is so different.
Yeah, because they use, like, a different, like, I don't remember exactly what they called it, but the way they use alchemy is different from the way they used it in Amestria.
Well, it's cool because, like, she can, like, use the alchemy from a range.
Yeah. Which
is something that Ed and Al can't do. Well, they learn to.
Yeah, they learn how to, but yeah, she pulls from, like, the different, like, source
of energy.
Yeah, it's never really, like, they have an explanation for it,
I couldn't tell
but it's not like, you know what I mean, like, you don't ever get like
it's not spelled out
clear cut, like, this is exactly
because there's
what
a point where
means.
Like, they can't use alchemy and she can.
I like that the show's got great fight scenes, but they're not at, like, every fucking 5 minutes, you know what I mean, like, when they happen, it's for a reason.
Amazing. Like, yeah, and I don't know, fucking Roy went so hard in that goddamn anime, dog.
Yeah.
I just love how like they even like he even overshadows like Ed as far as like the way like everyone perceives like that group as a threat. They're like, okay, yeah, Ed's a bad motherfucker, but we got to do something about this nigga. This nigga right here.
Mustang is so he is like the like Gohan in Dragon Ball Z of the like series. He is clearly the most powerful alchemist.
Yeah.
Like man, they show him snap his fingers in Ishval, and then everybody just blows the fuck up. Like, and he's just stands there with a snap of his fingers. It's like that's so much power for one person to have. But he's useless in the rain.
Yeah,
Dude, but even still, though, on the emotional side, that scene where Hughes is dead, and he's standing and he cries, and he's like, it looks like rain.
Yeah.
Man, that shit gets me every time.
Every single time. No, what gets me, not even that. The part that I always lose it is when fucking his daughter asks, why are they burying Daddy?
Oh my god. Stop,
Yeah.
I'm tearing up.
Yeah, that's the part that gets me every fucking time.
And on that note,
God damn.
we're going to go out, sadly. But we're going to brighten it up before we actually go with the waifu of the week.
Oh, shit.
So, this week, I'm going to stick with Game of Thrones. And I'm going to go with Sansa Stark because she's got red hair like my real life waifu. And she... she's fine.
Okay.
Were you
You're
scared?
too sweet.
This week, I'm gonna just fucking keep pulling from Bravo because they keep pulling out waifus, dog. Fucking Rinka Iori has been topped as the top MILF. I'm sorry, it's happened. And that MILF is...
That's a lofty statement.
Dog. I'm gonna show you some pictures in a minute, though. But holy shit. It's,
Who is it?
Melinda... Hilda. Linda Hilda. Half
She's
Russian,
so
half
great you can't
Japanese.
even remember her name.
I mean, she just came out last week. It's only been a week.
Alright.
Bad as fuck, though. You should look
So, babe,
Am I picking a waifu? Or
Yes.
Am I picking,
Yeah.
Oh, a waifu?
do you want to pick a husbando? That's fair.
Yeah, you can do that if you
I
want.
mean,
Pick whatever you want.
probably...
Come on, girl.
Akio Furukawa. He's from Clannad.
I want to
and
be Akio when I grow
he's
up.
the dad, and he's so cool.
He's based as fuck.
He's like the best dad in the world, and his and Sanai's relationship is so heartwarming.
Yeah.
We're
And
gonna have
I
a
love
conversation
Sanai.
about this based shit, because I don't know what that means.
Okay. Like,
Sanai would have been my waifu.
I would consider you based.
What's it mean?
We'll talk about it after we shut this
Okay.
shit out.
Well, so,
Akio.
Akio from Clannad.
Akio.
No homo, if I was a girl, I'd pick Akio too. Akio's
Yeah.
a bad
I
motherfucker.
don't
great.
know who he is,
He's
but
a
I'll
Good
know
dad,
soon.
too. That's a great quality. Good dads.
Well, thank you for listening, and we're going to go away for a while. But while we're out, don't forget your waifu.
Never forget your waifu.
Bye, Foo.